New York. Matilda, one of the chamber from here, for the phenomenal things that working with other people coming from other countries, the power you have for someone like Esther here in the room is unbelievable. So please listen to what she has to say. She owns her own brokerage, and she's phenomenal, even though she's silent. We're going to get her to speak more. And I'll make sure that happens. Don't get started. So thank you. Go ahead.
I want to thank everyone for coming. And I made a comment. I said I don't only have Africans here. I would have said we're on African time. But on that list, when I looked at people who registered, I don't think half of the people were Africans. So I don't know where they are. Certainly not an African time. My name is Esther Ayuk, and I'm the broker owner of Fertility Professionals. I've been in real estate for 17 plus years. I'm a licensed pharmacist, even though I don't practice. I still hold a pharmacy license. Real estate happened to me. I didn't go looking for it. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, you have a passion for something. I just love beautiful houses. And while looking at beautiful houses, these different ideas were going through my head and going from, you know, this is something I like to, can this be something I get to do? So in 2001, I got licensed while working as a full-time pharmacist. The one thing I knew for sure was that I did not want to be a pharmacist for the rest of my life. I know that may sound strange because everybody thinks, you know, having a pharmacy degree, working as a pharmacist is a very rewarding career, and it is, don't get me wrong. It is very rewarding, but there's something about just finding a way to earn a living versus doing something that you enjoy and then make a living while doing that. That's what real estate did for me. Once I started, I kept my license, I was working full-time, and things were just happening because contrary to what Desiree thinks, she thinks I'm shy. But Mary here just said, don't get her started. Because when I start talking, you can't stop me. I consider myself a reservoir of information and knowledge because I actually go out seeking for it. And that's how I started my real estate career. Not asking who is going to come to me so I can sell a house and make a commission, but more from a standpoint of what can I offer this person so I can help them get to where they are. That has been the business model that I have worked using for the past 17 years. I started out with a small brokerage, went to Century 21, and even while working in the pharmacy, I was the top producing agent in the office I worked for a couple of years. And everybody was like, and you have a full-time job? I'm like, yes. Because all I do is share information and knowledge. That's my what I would consider unique to me and my concept of doing a business. It has to be meeting someone else's need versus just writing the contract so you can get paid. Now, when it comes to women and home ownership, it's a little bit different for me. For me, it comes natural. I was born into a family where everybody's a woman, except my father. My father had 10 girls. I'm one of those 10 girls. And basically, we were positioned to just go and get what we could get. Unfortunately, my father died when I was 15 years old, but by then he had instilled enough in me to know that I go and get it. Nobody's going to hand it to me. And once I got into real estate, I saw that play better than while I was working in a pharmacy, because I could sit one-on-one and have a conversation with someone, understand what it is that they're trying to get to, and then work with them, because I don't always have all the answers, but I can assure you I know where to go look for it when I don't have it. I know who to tap into. I know who to pick the phone and talk to and say, here's what I'm dealing with. What are the options you have on the table? This is what I've explored. It's a little bit different from the woman, and in the current day America, as heterogeneous as it is, in terms of the make, you have Africans, you have Hispanics from different countries, you have people from Asia, Europe, all making the blend of what we call today's American. That's the reality, and I don't care how it gets presented. And when you go to serve your communities, or when you go seeking for help, there's something unique about every individual. And my belief is that until you know what's unique about that person, you cannot exactly serve them. So from a woman's perspective, there's plenty of data out there that shows from gender equality issue, income disparity, to coming down to the micro level when you look at culture and how it plays for the various communities, the woman's role, or how they interface with the male counterpart. So I believe that there are realtors in the room, and there are potential home buyers either looking for homes of their own or just investment properties. There's some dynamics of things that you bear in mind. I don't know that there's anybody running around and saying, I don't want to sell a home to a female, or I don't want to give a mortgage to a female home buyer. But the studies have been done, and there's just certain disparity that we cannot deny. Right now, the dynamics really stands out when you're looking at a single female, because in a couple situation, it is a little bit different. But when you look at a single female and you look at a single male, the home buying trend is a little bit different. In fact, the woman outpaces the single man almost to 2-to-1 ratio, or actually more than that. So I would think that anybody with a vested interest should look into specifics from a business standpoint, how you're marketing to this group, or what kind of services that you provide to that group of people. So if we look at data, you know, there's data that supports how men buy differently from women. You know, there's some things that would typically play as a disadvantage to the woman. You know, there are single women who have never gotten married, and there are single women who have been married before, but they ended up in a divorce. But when you look at child support data that was reported through the Census Bureau, about 82% of the children stay with the mother in the case of a divorce. So you still have a different need when you're serving that clientele base. So that woman, even though she's lived in a couple situation, they may have had a house before, or they may never have owned a house, but now she has the children. She has to consider going to qualify for a mortgage. And now you may want to sell her a 2-bedroom house, but where is she going to keep her 5 children? So that won't work for her. And if you're trying to tell her that all she qualifies for is a 2-bedroom house, it may be realistic, but are there other things that you can do to make sure that she can afford? Are there other things that you can do to help her buy that 3-bedroom, because that's what will work for her family? And when you also look at things like down payment, historically, you would tend to see the men putting a little more down than the single woman. And again, I'm making a disclaimer when I say single woman, that some of them have been married before, but not currently in a couple situation. That particular demographic typically doesn't have as much down payment because they have a higher debt load. You know, more women are going to universities than men. That is indisputable. It's the data is there to support that. But the downside of that is they end up owing more in student loan debt, and that impacts, increases their debt burden and makes it less likely for them to qualify. Now everybody knows what happened when the market crashed. You know, the lending guidelines became more tough, and the underwriters look at various things. So on an average, the woman is going to qualify less most of the time than the man, with some of those factors that I've mentioned. But as somebody who has worked in the industry, if she doesn't qualify today, it's no problem. And in fact, if you're working in that industry and that's an area of interest, you should reach these women early enough, educate them, provide information. Work with a lender who understands that, you know, find down payment assistance, help with closing costs, whether it's from a builder or a regular homeowner. Just basically educate them and hold their hands through the process. And some of that gap will be closed where they qualify less than their male counterparts. Now, there are men in the industry that who are here today. They may be realtors, lenders, and all of that. This information is beneficial to women who are here as well as the men, because if you know that, and then you are approaching a woman as a client, there's some things that you will take into consideration. And here she may not be this tough person who's going to run down and start breaking the wall because she's trying to do a flip. So she's counting on somebody who has to be true to her and all of that. But if you are serving her, then you will take the time, hold her hand, show her her options, and educate her on those options. So at the time she makes a decision, she's making an informed decision. In my business, I run basically a non-traditional brokerage firm because I've been in business for 17 years and I don't market. I know that sounds really, really strange. The only reason I'm able to stay in the business without marketing, as well as even surviving the crash from 2007, is because of relationships. I go to these people, I offer to help them. I don't go to them to sell them a home. So it wouldn't matter. I have lenders back there that I've worked with them, and they know if something is happening to my client and it's the best interest of my client, and I have to lose a business in that process, I'll give it up if I believe that it works for my client. I'm willing to do that. I will not fight for something at the detriment of the client that I serve. It's just the way I've been able to do it, and that is why I get a lot of repeat business, lots of referral, and I take care of my community. The other thing that works in this community that I described earlier, when you have people from different cultures coming into this one melting pot, is trying to understand it. We need to understand the culture and understand how to work with the various areas of our American culture, the way they want to work with. Mary's out of my office. She has a group of clientele, and maybe they can speak English. They'll call the office and they ask me if I speak Spanish. I don't, but Mary does. So I will make sure they can speak with Mary versus me trying to decipher what it is that they want. You know, I'm from Cameroon. I know things that are specific to the African culture, whether it's Cameroon, Nigerian, Ghanaian. I take that as a niche, and I put it to work for me. I also have, because I have a medical background, I know some challenges with those professionals. I also address that as a niche and make it work for me. So basically, if you're on the buyer side, you need to find somebody who understands you and can work with you to take you to where you're trying to go. Anyone can sell your house. In fact, you don't even need a realtor to sell your house. If you go on your computer and log in on Google, you'll find a house and you can make an offer. But if that serves your need, good and fine for you. In fact, I don't think the role of a realtor is to look for houses. The difference between you finding a house and what a good realtor will provide as service to you is the little details. All of that is in the details, the fine details of the process, referring you to the right sources, a well-rounded realtor, you know, who knows what it means to be self-employed and getting a loan, who knows somebody's trying to start a business and they are trying to, you know, weigh their options, start the business before buying a house, buy a house before starting the business. All those details would work for both the realtor and the client if they set out on the right path. So basically, my message here today is for the home buyers, people who are trying to get into real estate, whether it's for the first time, to build up your portfolio, and maybe just starting out and just gathering information. you need to make sure you look at what is specific about you, define your goals, and then find the right match for somebody who can help you get there. Not all realtors are made the same, and not all home buyers are the same.
So the question I'd like to ask Esther, or give a nugget for Esther, she's selling herself short. She goes out and finds vacant property for her clients. If they're developers from other countries, she makes sure what that community consists of to what be to their needs. She also finds commercial buildings all the way down to helping them place their children in schools in addition to the family. So when she talks about creating a culture environment and understanding when they come from Cameroon and the African communities and things like that, she embraces them as if they've never been to the Americas before. They've never been in the community where she knows and directs them to go. She is that walking encyclopedia of human touch. But I disagree with Esther regarding anyone can find a house, anyone can buy a home. The process of going through it, you need experts like Esther, myself, and other stuff, because until you know the experiences, you can't get that out of a book. It's about the rules and regulations, and most importantly, knowing how to negotiate and knowing what your limits are or not your limits are, defining that under thing, like buying in a house that's on a hill. Is it cut or is it filled? Those are the things that someone of Esther's caliber is there. Now the ladies in here that want to buy a home, that value is finding what can you do, how you can do it, and Craig's going to talk about that on the loan process, on what that's going to take to get to that program to go with it. But always think when you're talking about your first home, think about how you can leverage to go and buy multiple homes down the road versus then just buying your first home. Never sell yourself short of thinking of one thing, thinking of buying 10 homes in the next 10 years. And even if you don't own a home now.
Right, and actually, I did mention that you can find a home. I didn't say you could buy a home. You can go online and find a home. But
I clarified that, so go on.
Yes, so I appreciate that, Desiree. And yes, of course, there are different people in the audience. That's, again, something that I do specifically. I understand, when you talk about real estate, when you look at the number of international buyers, and when you look at NAWRB study, they classify international buyers under various categories. So, for example, I'm a US citizen, but if you ask me, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that I'm Cameroonian. So even though on the census data, I would show up as a US citizen, my buying habits are different. And then the there are the people who come in here maybe on an H-1B visa, which is just a working visa, or they are visitors, or they are foreign investors who are coming here. All of that category, they have different aspects that a realtor or even somebody who is trying to partner up needs to understand those details. And there are a lot of foreign buyers in the US market. I mean, you wouldn't even imagine the percentage of homes in the US that are bought by foreign buyers. And it's interesting, if you look at foreign buyers, the percentage that you would pick up as a realtor or a lender on the internet is so little. Over 50% of foreign buyers, you as a lender or a real estate agent, you're going to get them through personal touch. Basically, it's going to be from somebody you know, somebody recommended them, repeat buyers, and just referral from people who've done business with. There's still a very small percent that you can pick up from some marketing and stuff, but a lot of it is through personal touch. So if you're working in a market like Atlanta, you have to know that these people, all those different people I mentioned, live in this community. And if your goal is to gain market share, then you need to understand, how does the African buyer buy? How does the Hispanic buyer buy? What are the things that are important to that group of individuals? And I remember I went to a conference, I actually went to California last year, and somebody asked a question. It was a lender, and he said, but we're marketing and all of this, we're doing this minority program, but we don't seem to get any results. And I just commented and I said to him, how are you reaching them? if you were marketing here in Atlanta and you wanted to reach Cameroonians, and you went on the internet and ran an ad and said, I don't know what you would say, I can guarantee you're not going to get any business. But if you came to me and asked me and said, what are the Cameroonian events that are going to take place this calendar year in Atlanta, I'll give you a slew of those events, and you can choose to go to them and make an offer to them, to work with them, understand them, support them in their endeavors. Then you are speaking their language, you come to their level. So basically it's not a one-size-fits-all, but I think that for the women who are in the room, and like Desiree said, looking at buying their first home or buying 10 homes later, you have to educate yourself, get the necessary data, and work with the right person so that you can go where you set out to go. Thank you.
Right. I love Esther's accent. How long have you been here?
31 years.
31 years, and still
All my life.
And still has that accent.
All my life. I'm Cameroonian.
Some of the things I'd like to point out as a professional standpoint. How many of you have ever gone to an SBA event? As a buyer, go. As a real estate professional, go. Every vendor in the back, go. Why? Not only most of them free, but if you're in the profession, especially with what Esther's doing here, the internationaltrade.gov, every single person who wants to come to the United States to invest is going to go to the chambers, which is he's very heavily involved, and the SBA to find out what's the infrastructure, what's going on, who's the business, who's the clientele. So whether you want to get your book of business, whatever you are who's buying a home, what do you do for a living? May I ask? Real estate. Part-time. And like Esther, and what do you do full-time?
Full-time, I work for, I handle life benefits.
Life benefits?
Yes.
Okay.
Life benefits.
I'm coming in from Japan. I'm going to need a healthcare provider. You go hit them up at a conference at the trade.gov. Your book of business, buying a home, buying a business, building, right? There's number 2 takeaway. Number 3, your tribe of where you're getting not only your book of business, but your alliance of who's going to help you health-wise, who's going to help you what's going on in your community, and who's going to help you in your own family, and where you want to live in your own environment or your business. We all barter. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to an SBA event or gone to talk to a business ownership. I'll give you this or that. Except for number 3. Right? So, next we're going to have Craig up. Where's my bullets and golden nuggets on you, dude? I love the way he speaks. I love his fluidity of knowing his own products. He does 75% of Esther's business in her office. The reason I want to say that is a tribe, that is a relationship. That means that he covers her end of the book. To making sure when she needs something, it's done. Now, when I sold 6,000 properties, and I averaged anywhere from 500 to 700 a year, I had 3 people. I had systems in place that I designed myself. But my tribe knew when I called, you knew how high to jump. In this book of business, you have multiple people that you refer business to, and if they strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out. You didn't buy me lunch. You didn't take me places. You were there. Not one title company ever bought me lunch my entire first 20 years of the business. Why? When I called, you delivered immediately. Time is everything, especially with the internet now. Don't even think about time. So, Craig, thank you. identify the resources. Your contribution, your involvement, your knowledge of what's going on. Matilda opened up me to a whole new world. It took me 5 weeks to come off the high of sitting on this panel. I'm not kidding. Am I wrong, Esther? It is crazy to hear the first ladies of 5 different countries and the president to be in their presence, to have all the secret serious. Literally, we're pulling out the room going crazy. Remember that? We were there for hours and hours, and we're like, okay, we have to take a second. We're going to calm down. I told every person I knew, and trust me, I travel all over the country. No one asked. It was just the highlight of my life of starting there and being in that pocket. So thank you very much, Ms. for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you, Esther.
Let me give you mine.
Oh, I can speak up. I'll speak up. All right, is that okay? I'll speak up, yeah, because I need my hands and everything else because I'm an emotional person. I'm a woman and I make no apologies. All right. From here, from the heart, and I speak from the brain because that's what we are, that's what we do. And it is amazing. I mean, I didn't even know that 37% of the millennials are living below poverty level. 2018 just doesn't make sense. 80% of household decisions. We make 80% of household buying decisions. So when you look at a global economy, we make 80% of decisions. Buying power, literally, not buying power, the buying decisions. So why should we be here? I don't know. We contribute $3 trillion to this global economy, but yet we stay in the same place. Juggling family and business and everything else. Last month alone, I've been on 3 continents with just juggling family, business, social. I still have to be socially conscious in all of this. So I'm so sorry, first of all, I have to apologize for coming late because my time and my body was all over the place. But thank you, Esther, for always being on top of my case, making sure I am where I'm supposed to be, so that I don't also fail the women, this very women that we're trying to also move forward, move women and youth. That's actually my passion. I just came from Ghana, and it's such a blessing. I didn't know that my sister was going to be here. We had an opportunity to talk about women business with Ayuk. So we'll talk about that one too. It's the same problem everywhere. We don't get access like our other counterparts. We make excuses. Everything else that we apologize for everything. Then we turn around and don't get what we need to get because we have maternity leave or whatnot. You know, so many things are against us, yet we rise. But how can we bring this together in a way where at least our children, if we do not benefit from it, our children's children will not have to go through the same struggles that we do. So what we need to do, I mean, for me, real estate is the number one thing. That's where we put peace of mind is where you put your head, right? Peace of mind. That's where you find peace of mind. You put your head. And then finding a way to have your livelihood. So find a way to combine real estate, healthcare, and your business is what we need to do. And I was telling Esther, when I came back from Ghana, a 40-acre, for example, 40-acre property in Ghana. How can we assist the women there to have access to real estate while they grow their business and their family? They have other programs going about, but we want to start creating a fund, for example, small fund, micro loan for the women as we give them the knowledge to improve or sustain their business. How can we give them access to a property also? You know, over there on the continent, property could be anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 if you go into the right business. How can we, so it takes women to come together and say, we're going to create a women fund, and then start maybe one community at a time, or one village at a time. I don't use the word village because my trips, the last trip, I realized that it's not a village anymore, it's a sustainable community. I'd rather live in those areas than live here. How do we create funds, come together and get assistance or work with somebody like, Greg, what's the guy? Louis, exactly. How can we sit with him and then bring our ideas together for him to basically help, not him actually help, but he's sitting right there. He's the one approving it. So we need to work with the men who can be our backbone also to create funds for projects and everything. And it's about time women start working together. It's not like we used to do before. Right now, women are working together. We're beginning to realize that we are each other's backbone. You know, all the myth that is going around that women pull women down, it's over. Women are working together to uplift, empower women, the youth, moving forward in this 21st century. There's a lot of, we know that there's a lot of things that's pulling us back, but we can do it. You know, so my travels, I realized that the time is there. Real estate is definitely a way to go. And Esther, I have to say thank you to Esther. She's actually doing a program for the youth. My daughter is part of it, where they could literally own their first properties at the age of 16, 17 and up. It requires work. It requires dedication. This is what I call social entrepreneurship. But she has to give her time to be able to mentor these youth in making sure they make the right decisions going forward. So we asked her, she started this summer, and I had my daughter involved. And I told her something, I taught her simple finances. Everything you get, even if it's $1, put 10% on the side. Within just summer, she started. My daughter came back home, she's in a boarding school. She said, I have $300 on the side. And I was like, wow, so I give you that much money that you have $300 on the side. You know, so these are little things that we can teach the millennials, you know, that yeah, you can let go of the shoe, for example, and then put 10% down, because you have to understand that you're already disadvantaged. We're fighting through that. But in the meantime, can we let go of these nails? Can we let go? This is also another education. As women, we definitely have to teach our daughters, you know, that you are worth everything else, but this is how we find a way to basically move forward to the next level. Certain things we can forgo, we do forgo. Certain things we cannot forgo too, you teach yourself. So not also being in a place where you know, basically forget who you are. There's a time and place for everything else. But we are in a space where the girl will come and wants the latest iPhone, you know, and then you got out of the contract, for example, then you still go get. So it's education that we also need to go through with our daughters for us to be able to be in that space also. And when I go international, I talk to the boys also, not only women, so I have to bring it up, talk to the boys. When I went to Ghana, for example, I found the challenges that boys also go through, where we come from, men pay for everything. So these boys are also so stressed out trying to take care of these girls. These girls are not trying to do anything because the boys will take care of them. So there's education that goes back and forth everywhere we go. Each one teach one. You don't have to have a crowd to be able to tell them where we're going and where we want to take them. Because if we understand that we lift each other up from the man's standpoint, from the woman's standpoint, how we need to do, then the job is half done. By the time you talk to the girl, they also understand how to pull your weight. You know what I mean? So on my travels, like I said, in Africa, for example, it is time to start creating funds. It is time to start talking about women owning a piece of the real estate. It is time to start engaging in the microfinance space. There is money to be made out there, even in that space. So we need to start bringing our parts back to the table and figuring out what it is that we can do to uplift each other up, either here or over there. And Esther and I joking around quite some time with the women space. Also, the economically disadvantaged women in small business. I'm sure we will probably talk about it. Also, we've been in that space. There's so many opportunities that we've not found a way to tap into it. I was in Texas, I think 2 years ago. I found out that men have a program going on that really help each other. I think they have the top 100 CEOs. This is just a bunch of men, they meet once a month, they talk about family, they talk about, whatever it is that they need to do to move forward. We don't have anything like that, where women, even if it's just book club, but in the book club, we talk about opportunities. What can you do? If you're a teacher, what is the next level? How can you improve yourself? If you are in small business, well, how can you improve yourself? They talk about family issues, they talk about counseling. That is how they help the men move forward, because the world is stressful. So we need a place like that. Doesn't always have to be spa. But then if we can come up also with some, yeah, it's true, we go to spa to relax, which is a good idea. But these men meet to discuss all the spa issues, emotional issues, counsel, everything else, and business. That's how they're able to go out there the next day and not stress about anything else and be able to close the deal that maybe we cannot close. Part of the challenges that we have. So we need to start probably engaging from who we are, because we are nurturers. So why are we not coming together as nurturers, and then moving ourselves forward in everything else that we do? So in my space in America, Esther is my right-hand woman, and my champion because she's actually my emotional, I call it. I lean on her emotionally, and she leans on me too emotionally. We need that, for each other, not only in the family space and business space and finances and everything else that we do. And like I said, internationally, we need to start thinking of being in this. What is important? I know SB also has opportunities outside the world. So as you build yourself a business here, think of what you can do, especially in the continent of rebuild and how Africa needs housing. Right? We understand what we're talking about. That's the place to be. Renting and homeownership. Africa is the place to be. So as we think of what to do or where we go, not just buying home or real estate for ourselves, how can we also be part of this, in spaces that other people have home and making the right money. So if there's any, I met with Eileen and a lady, they do have a microloan program in Ghana for women. This is very powerful. Every small microloan for women, very powerful. They're looking for investment, other investment opportunity and investment groups. We've gone back to the US. We want to go out there and attack and bring the right people to the table to look at that fund and see how we can empower more women in the space of business and self-growth and everything else. So that's one of the programs that we work with right now, and then the real estate is another program that I'm hoping to work with Esther Ayuk in the area in West Virginia with small houses, $20,000 for the women as we empower them.
I'm from Cameroon, but I've been in the U.S. for 31 years, so there's business everywhere to be had. We've had, Matilda and I traveled to Africa with 25 women back in 2014, actually 2015. Yeah, she and I were the only 2 women from Africa. The rest of the women were all Americans. And basically, the trip was just exploring markets and finding out what else is there and how to interact. If you're not from a place like Africa, you wouldn't understand. Here, Craig just spoke about how you can get mortgages. Now, there are countries in Africa where mortgages don't exist. So it could take you 5 years to build a house. Now, there are investors who are looking at that space, and they're US investors looking at that space and seeing how they can, if that's a space that they can operate in, on what kind of services they can take out there. So that's part of what the chamber does. If somebody has an idea, a brilliant idea, and say, okay, there are no mortgages in Cameroon, for example, what would it take to have mortgages in Cameroon? Then we go on that exploratory phase where we can do the research, get you the necessary information. And maybe you want to invest internationally. Not only, foreigners don't only come to the US to buy properties, there are US people who go overseas to buy properties. I saw properties in Costa Rica. Of course, I'm not licensed in Costa Rica. I have to co-op with somebody. But the world is this global village that you can't just sit in that little cocoon. And there are US buyers flocking to Costa Rica, for example, and now there are lenders that are coming up that are offering some kind of hybrid form of loan. I mean, those are like 50% loans and stuff like that to support those US buyers who are going overseas to buy properties. So there's a lot going on. You just have to get the right information and use it appropriately to get where you want to.
Okay, thank you, Esther. So, thank you so much. Anybody has a question on how to the African market, how to enter the African market?
Have you, I'm sure you've dealt with Yosef, I think his name is, Yosef, the gentleman who got the Nobel Peace Prize in 2012 that has over $10 billion in loans to women. 97% of them are to women, and there's 7.9 million loans that are microloans. You haven't heard? I'll give you the information.
Thank you.
So there's number 5 we're up to, right? Takeaways today. But imagine, 97% of all his business is to women loans. Started at $5 loans. He's at 7.9 today, $1 million. Sorry, 7.9 million women that he's lent to and or have current open loans, and over $10 billion in total assets that are loaned out. So the idea is it's out there. As far-fetched as it might seem to you today, thinking, okay, really, I can't even pay my bills today, or I can't go out and do something that's in the investment world. Why would I even think of being in this pocket? I cannot tell you what has happened to my life, my existence of dreaming since speaking at your event at the United Nations lawn, of the dreams of coming and making it that much bigger, because the world of people seeing how the woman from Ivory Coast, her whole thing was indigenous people, of taking the picture in the indigenous part of the country, and just to see the aura of how she changed me as a person to what we can do for women's independence. And it doesn't matter what country, it doesn't matter who the woman is, it matters that we're doing something on behalf of women. Because what you don't know is predatory tax. You don't know about the pink tax. You don't know about the redlining that Craig was talking about. It's still out there. Believe it or not, women still pay more for a mortgage than men. And I'll talk about that next session. So,
and a lot of the immigrants, their degree of negotiation is going to be more intense, doesn't mean they cannot afford that house at full price. So you have, once you have that understanding, it's the same thing, you walk up to a lender and tell the lender that they don't want to pay any closing costs. What's the lender going to do about it? You can get mad and decide not to do business with them, or you can understand where they're coming from. So they're asking you to pay all of their closing costs. $500 may actually make that deal work. But if you just get upset and saying, who do you think I am? Why should I pay your closing costs? You just lost the deal. Or they tell you as a realtor to offer $250 for a house that's $400 in this market. You can walk away and tell them it will never happen, or you can try to understand and educate them and make a sale. So that's one.
It happens, even in the last week of my life. It was the difference of a gentleman had his curtain rods making out the house. I won't say anymore. Vanessa, same question.
So in today's environment, in the Hispanic market, what's interesting is the political climate that we live in. So there's a lot of uncertainty with immigration, with the DACA, the Dreamer, the Deferred Action for Children Arrival. There's 800,000 of us. Most of them are U.S. residents. They're educated. Most have degrees now. So there's an opportunity there for people with immigration status, but everyone is on pause. They're a little bit afraid because of the current political administration. What's interesting about Georgia, though, with the Asian Pacific Islander population, it's the 5th largest Asian population that are bringing their money here. A lot of investors coming into Georgia, which is really interesting. So you have a large population coming in with foreign investors of Asian population and Pacific Islanders when I look at demographics in the Georgia market. So that's another demographic that I would consider if I was a realtor or a lender, is looking at that demographic beyond the women purchasing power. In Georgia, in this particular market, there's a large influx because of the affordability. There's a lot of affordability. As a matter of fact, one of my colleagues here, she's with East West Bank, and they have really good programs for investors. But again, that's the Chinese immigrant. But there's also a lot of Asians coming in and investing in Georgia, which is interesting. It's like the 5th largest investment segment. And these are demographics that I get through the census tract and also the Asian Real Estate Association of America. They have demographics out there and purchasing power. So you always want to look at the trends. For the Hispanics here in Georgia, it's 9% of the population are Hispanic. That look like me. But it's a large population of cash buyers coming in from Asian market, which is really interesting. So if you look at those demographics, I definitely would focus on Asian buyers, Hispanics, and also women, definitely.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Do you find that also with the Indian market?
Yes, it's part of the Asian population.
The Asian, okay.
Yes,
Asian, okay.
Asian and Pacific Islanders.
Right, okay, very good. Because I find that same criteria. There's a very large, strong community presence, not only home ownership, but opening businesses.
Yes.
And that's another part of the market I want to tap to. But
people are walking in with the need that with the EB-5 and stuff to come in and say, I have 10 people I can place into a home or renters, and then from there I want to buy a business or rent a business. So you want to be like Esther and capture that whole pocket, but as a lender outside of Esther, You want to go into, like I said, the trade.gov places. You want to go to the SBAC and go to your local chambers that are physically seeing who. And we have some people that are members of several different chambers to find out what the infrastructure is, who's building what, who's coming in here, who's been in there to talk to them, right, that might not have bought. Because then you're going to get the lead on who that business opportunities are. Whether you're doing it from an attorney standpoint, back there on the fastest growing law firm in the, hello back there. That's it, the largest law firm going in there with 28 attorneys in the state of Georgia. So those are the things that you get yourself that leg up so much faster than anyone else. So great question. Matilda. Back to the immigration, how do you deal with, you know, the misnomers of staying from Ghana? Ghana, sorry.
Yes. That's okay. Let me start by saying that companies are now beginning to be aware of the cultural differences. So I do that also. I do a cultural attaché. That means I go into an organization and we talk about Africa, 1.3 trillion, 54 countries, what it means for an organization. If you want to go in, if you want to do business with a community here, or if you want to go outside and do business with them. So they have cultural attachés having this conversation. And so people are beginning to understand, like I'll give you two examples. When you go to Ghana, for example, a thumbs up is not necessarily a thumbs up. Depending on how you put it down, it could be an insult. You know, so these nuances, when you go to the Ghanaian community, even though we are desensitized a bit, still when you put it down, because we raise like that, you know that is a curse. Somebody's cursing you when they kind of put your thumb down. And I work with Virginia Little John. She is in charge of UN Women Program. And she gave an example of a program they've been doing in India for like 5 years. They do the same program 5 years in a row, and then they hired an Indian to head that program the 6th year. She came back and she said, the program doesn't work. And she said, no, we've been doing it for 5 years. And she said, well, the culture where the program was being implemented is you don't refuse a gift. So if you come in with a program from here that is greater, you think is good for the Indian, it's a gift. So if it doesn't work, nobody's telling you. So for 5 years, they were just putting money in this program and it wasn't working. So having that cultural conversation definitely opens your mind, your senses into how you can even get into the community and market your product, because it's psychology. Marketing is psychology, so not understanding the psychology of a community, that you rather go in there, have failed already.
So. You know, I just learned that you know Virginia Littlejohn. I know Virginia Littlejohn very well. I had no idea we had this relationship. She works on women in active public policy, and I'm on the Leadership Advisory Council. Hello.
It's a small world. Yeah, we sat on the same panel about 3 years ago, and so I got to meet her at that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so here, chalk one up for 2 for me today. Love this. So there you go. Let's, Esther, we got to get her on a she call to talk about that very subject for an hour, and you get to interview her. I mean, that's what we need to get out there, because, you know, you have Nikki that's in Nigeria right now working on the finance program for the Nigerian government for the $300 million that they're bringing into for the financial literacy of what's going on in that country. The 2 mayors would be fantastic.
Wonderful. As you go in there, talk to her about yam.
About what, I'm sorry?
There's since we have them, there is a food product. It's kind of like potatoes, but the thicker consistency, has fiber. It's called yam. And
Yam, as in
yam. Y-A-M.
Yam here.
Yes, yams here, but it's different. Our yams is different. And she's worked with some Japanese women, and she found out that Japanese women, for example, like Ghana yam because it has this fertility ingredient to it. And Japanese women are having a low, they're low birth rate right now, so they're really big on Ghana yam. And this research that just came out that Nigeria actually has more twins birth rate because of the yam. Yeah.
Birth rate or birth twins?
Twins. More twins.
I had 2 sets of twins.
So yeah, but lot of young gets put in different estrogen products and stuff, so there's some scientific research that backs that.
Okay, breathing. Is this not interesting? Come on. This is crazy good. Fantastic, thank you. So we got a sheep call, we've got more people on, we find out that fertility, it comes from this. This is good, this is good. Now you see the stuff, right? This is...
You know, it is good, Jayla. It's a shame because we're sitting here having this, and this should be going around this whole country at the stage right now.
We will be talking that next. After we're done, you will get to hear how we are bringing it to the world. Trust me, trust me, we're going to open this up. Okay, so, thank you, this is phenomenal. Next question off the top of my head. How would you have everyone in the room that might not have the experience and the cultural impact that you continue to have because it evolves daily with social media? We all have heard and seen harassment. There's been 128 senior executive C-suite, which are, you know, CEO, COO, people that have lost their job or were forced to step down in the last 4 months for whether it be sexual harassment, whatever. But the idea is to bring that to harassment of any form, whether it be verbal, physical, sexual, or career advancement, just in any way of life, no matter man or woman, any aspect. Children are losing empathy since year 2000. Every single year, college students have tested, and it has gone down every single year on Here we are talking about empathy for women globally on getting them to come out of poverty and be sustainable in some shape or form as the next leaders and mothers of the world, of our children, right? How can we help, not only help other countries, but help our own country to reverse the cycle, in your opinion, on getting more empathy out there when we have so much technology that you can't even walk? I mean, I was walking my dog yesterday in Irvine. I adopted 3 puppies. I know, 8.5 weeks old, they're now a year old, and a little crazy as much as I travel, but they're my girls. I have 4 boys. And a woman was walking by, and very fit, you could tell she was in some athletic sport, and she never once saw me, saw the dogs. Her face was in her cell phone, and I was just wondering how many people have died walking into a street, walking to a car, just walking to school. So how do we get to our culturals from other countries of immigrants? What is it like with cell phones? I know in the Asian community, they don't even pay with cash. Everything's with their cell phone. How does that reflect of Cameroon? So let me give you a little about NAWRB. We are the Women in Real Estate for Women in the Housing and Real Estate Ecosystem. We are a voice for women in housing. We have a Diversity and Inclusion Leadership Council, which Vanessa spoke about. Donnie Herman, Tammy Vanell, who's the CEO of Exit Realty International. They have 600 offices. 25 years ago, she had no offices. She now has 600 offices just in the United States. They're a worldwide company. I have Microsoft, IBM, we could go through the list. These women are champions to get more women in leadership roles that are very powerful and grow through things. So what happens, I talk about, see, it's even on my slide, it tells about me speaking at the conference, but that's how powerful it is. I was ranked the top #1 real estate influencer follow for women. I beat out Barbara Cochran, Grant Cardone, and several other people. So it's #4, and also, like I said, in 2016, I'm the Small Business Administration Women Business Champion of the Year. So just a little background about myself real quick. So knowing professional housing ecosystem, it's crucial to think outside of your box. We've been talking about women. Everything that's applicable to women is applicable to LGBT. Minorities, it's applicable to small businesses. It's a different classification that the federal government uses, and a lot of business owners. There are people right now that are dying to find women-owned in STEM. How many of you think STEM is used for building a home, building a building? Architects, engineers, infrastructure. The house is going to fall down, the building is going to fall down. Did you hear about the bridge in Florida?
one in Atlanta last year.
Within 24 hours of the bridge going up, killed 15 people in Florida. Because the guy didn't think he needed to put the bracing on. So it's very, very important. So you heard about the SBA real quick, about talking about giving yourself advantage in the contracting arena. So real quick, from the SBA standpoint, I talked about minority hub zones, service disabled veteran, women-owned, veteran-owned, small disadvantaged, and small business. If you're in real estate, how much money do you have to make a year to be considered non-small business? $7.5 million a year. Do you know you can still do $50 million a year in some base codes and have up to 500 employees and still be considered small? That's a pretty big company, if you say so myself. Now, you must be to be considered women-owned, small business-owned, LBGT. 51% must be owned, operated, and managed by the designation. So if you're a woman and you would be classified as a women, plural, owned business, either one or more women must own it at 51% owned, operated, managed. You cannot buy it and walk away and go to have your nails done every day, unless you're in the nail salon business. Got it? But you will always be women-owned, even if you're singular, woman-owned. You will never be woman. You will always be women. Okay? Now, any of you that knows, make yourself really good job. Any of you know that's a woman-owned business? That's a broker-owner like Esther? Give them a $5,000 treat to match. Banks, attorneys, anyone. You write down and tell them that a leader and influencer that works in the federal space says, you tell them that they are a woman, capital W-O-M-E-N hyphen capital O-W-N-E-D, women-owned business, and make sure they put on the business card, the signature line, signs, literature everywhere. I don't care if you're not certified or not. I didn't say you were. I said you are a woman-owned business because you're declaring that you're 51% unoperated and managed. Why? The lingo is people want to see it. Once they say, we would like you to bid on a contract, then go buy your certification. Go do the process. But don't go, oh my God, so much paperwork, I don't know if I can do this, it's take care of it, forget about it, do it. You're not lying. You didn't put the word certified. You just said women-owned business. Key word, women-owned business. For every woman you see that says broker-owner, snap. Snap. Why? It is not the lingo, because now, who is driving the business? Small businesses, excuse me, not corporations. Small businesses are driving the economy. So whose the object that you're sitting across the table is going to be who? A small business owner. And if you invest in yourself, they're going, oh, I like you. You know business. I want to do business with someone who takes care of my business. Make sure you tell your friends. All right, so, is that exciting or what? Okay, so you heard about the SA. We didn't go into the 11 program, but there's all different kinds of access to resources. National Minor Supply Diversity Council, all different kinds of certifications out there. There are no certifications out there that are universal to all different companies. So no one can you go, I'm going to go to SBA. Actually, SBA does verification, not certification, because you don't get a certificate you can take somewhere. You physically get put in the depository. We do third-party certification. We bank with several other companies. But the idea is that you want to get certified. If you can, take the time to do it at some point, but it's not mandatory right now. Just get it out there. There's access to capital. You have two fabulous lenders back there to do that.
There's all different kinds of programs, there's different companies. I'm going to keep this strictly to homeownership. So let's get through that real quick. So, but I wanted to show you real quick in the SBA though. Do you see those numbers? 23% of small business procurement going for 30 years now is 24.34%. That's only how many billion? Quite a few dollars, right? A lot of money there, guys. In 2017, what did we say? 2017, we had what here? This is now, it's okay, we cut out that, sorry. Okay, so we're going to go back to, my computer's like, not happening here. So the most important thing is valuing your business cannot be overstated. Do you know that you can call up a contracting officer when he says set asides and you're just going up and you really should do something about it? I had 5 contracts changed in one day if you're only women-owned businesses can bid on. I did what Esther wants to do and yelled at our office for not doing. What was that? What was it? Pick up the phone and call. Don't email them. Do human touch. Hey! I'd love to make this a women-owned business. I know another women-owned business who'd like to bid on it. Can we set this aside? Sure, not a problem. Send me an email, take care of it. 5 of them in one day. How many women-owned business love them? Right? The worst that can happen is what in the modeling days when I used to model? No. No gain, no loss. How many times have you told your kids no? Right? So Bloomberg. Women make 85% of all the decisions, 91% in home buying. But you go to ultra high net worth, I'll tell you 100% makes all the decisions that are women. The point is that women make the decisions that control the stuff. We've got to get this out there that women are doing the business. So women-owned business, market your campaigns. Get it to them to make sure that they have a say, right? So you're going to say, wait a second, we're talking about real estate, we're talking about home ownership. Perception. Marketing depicting women as merely mothers or wives is a thing of the past. Your business must adapt. Whether you own your business or not, as long as you're a real estate professional, whether you're a lender, realtor, insurance, attorney, or otherwise, you own your own business according to the IRS. It doesn't matter how you name your life. You own your own business unless you are salaried employee or W-2, right? Okay. The reason I say that, this is a real picture, a real ad. Imagine if I put that out today. Now this is very minor. There are ads that we have. I'd probably be arrested and go to jail if I were to show you. And just show you. Throw that back. Let's do another one. Successful marriages are in the picture. Are you serious? I've cooked maybe 4 times in the last 8 years in my house. My husband does most of the cooking. I'm on the road. You're lucky if I'm home at 9 o'clock at night. Doesn't mean that I'm a bad mom or a bad wife. It just means I don't cook. Okay, so we talk about gender equality. We talk about pay. 80% like Matilda's talking $30. Y'all know the subsidy with the pink tax? Anyone know what a pink tax is? What's a pink tax? All right, Mom. That's exactly what it is. Anything that is sold specifically and only to women, all manufacturers know that a woman will pay more for it. What is one thing that men don't use? Pads?
Yep.
Yeah, is it not a necessity for a woman to have a pad or a tampon? I don't know about you, but if big clothes will get ruined and look pretty disgusting, it's not too cool. Isn't that ridiculous? It's pink tax. It's a real tax. We're trying to bring that out and change that. So, get this. 26.6% of families with a single female household with no husband present, meaning not living in a house with them, live below the poverty rate. Twice the poverty rate of single male householders with no wife present. Of that, 42.1% of children are under the age of 18, and 49.1% of the children under 6 years of age in poverty. We have a problem here in the United States that no one wants to talk about. We as a society have to give back as a real estate professional. If I'm going to make money off of you, buying a home, buying a business, being your property manager, it is our responsibility to help those who can't even throw 2 nickels together to buy food and get off the street. If you don't have the money, you can donate your time. If you don't have the time, you can donate your money. There is no excuse. You make money off the profession, you have to support the profession to keep everyone from where they live life. NAWRB never intended to bring the poverty or homelessness to the arena. But no one can do homeownership or women's poverty on a national level. So we came around. When we saw the statistics a couple years ago from the U.S. Census Bureau and how bad women's poverty is and how bad it continues to grow, we could not get one, and we said we will bring the information to the table. We will tell everyone where we go, who we are. To Greg's point, this information has to get out there. If you don't think I'm passionate about utility, you feel her. You want to talk about a candle, I almost had my head knocked off. The lady, what is the lady's name? Who's from South Africa, sitting next to me in the heat.
Good afternoon.
Oh my God! Woo, woo, woo. Did you all see that? She almost killed me. Not intentionally, it was so funny, but the people were shaking and we were going. I thought I was a very vocal speaker. She blew me away. My point is, we have to do something to bring this information out, to help in any way we can. Whether that's letting corporations know, letting us internally know, to help our children know, getting a central depository so we all know about it. This is what we're doing. Okay? Florida, okay, we're not Florida, sorry, updated. Okay, so, get this. The default rate for female-only borrowers was 24.6%. For male borrowers, it was 25.4%. Guess who's better at paying their mortgages? But you know what's sad? You see where women's homes were worth 10% less than men? Because women are buying less priced homes. So they appreciate it slowly. Student loans, $1.3 trillion of outstanding student debt in the United States. 44% of female undergrads take on the debt in a year, compared to 39% of male undergrads. Women will take 2 years longer to pay off their debt. You wonder why more women are living under poverty than the millennials? The AAW report says that women with only bachelor degrees were more likely than men to report that education costs had influenced them to delay home ownership and take a less desirable job or a job outside their field. Resources for home buyers, HUD, obviously, FHA, we won't go too crazy about it. But how many of you know, and I don't honestly know this for Georgia, but in California you can buy up to 6 loans. 3 of them be grants that you never pay back. Does anyone in the back know how many loans you can get on a loan out here?
Layered
You can have 6 stacked loans. Is there a limit here?
In reference to buying a home? You just-
Yeah,
To
layered.
buy a home, you can have 6 loans on it when you buy a home.
With DAPs.
On one house.
One house.
Don't get me, whoa!
They're like,
You can have 3
down
grants
payment.
and 3 loans that are like from the state, from the county,
Yeah,
from a local program. But there's actually 3 grants you can actually get on top of that. You never have to pay back.
I think so.
Imagine buying a home for $450,000 and your payment only be $1,700 a month. Wouldn't that be sweet?
They're very by state, and that's why
You talk to the pros like Esther. You get involved as a professional with NAWRB. This costs tons of money and time. The more resources we have, the better we can be resources for all states. But you gotta start local. Okay? Diversity in thought process. Companies do business. How many of you try to impose your ideas on someone else? Or had someone think, well, this is how I think, this is why you do it, just, get over it, do it. Go to the place that champions diversity. Talk to those people who care about whether it be gender, any kind of diversity, geographical, highest, lowest sides, everywhere. Those are going to be the more people who are going to champion you as a woman, you as a man, you as a small business, you as a person of color. Not everyone has to like everyone. So what? We're DNA, we're human. We expect us not to get along, or like each other in every aspect, or know of everything and agree in everything. But the point is, those that are working that really champion the thought process of home ownership, business ownership, or culture, or who champions who you are, hang with those. Work on those. Show them how great you are. Don't try to please everyone. That was one of the things that, oh my God, she didn't like me. Oh, I'm going to go home and just figure this out. No, it's you. I'm old enough to say, if you don't like me, I don't care. It's all right, I'm done. Because I have to sleep with myself at night. As long as you can do that, you're cool. Right? So serving women home buyers, we talked about, but obviously tons of women looking for it. So if you're a woman-owned business on your women-owned business, remember men. Men, do you know you can be a woman-owned business? Why? How can a woman be a woman? How can a man be a woman-owned business? He works for the woman-owned business. So all you men, lenders, realtors, attorneys, and want to jump on that bandwagon, go find a woman-owned business. Esther is. I thought I'd give Esther a plug.
Yes, I am.
Is it on your card?
It is.
All right, high five. We went over that in length last year, did we not? So the bottom line is, there are companies that are spending $2, $3, $4 billion to find women-owned business, minority-owned business, small businesses. Have it on your card without even saying a word. There you go. Professional real estate, helping economy, helping other countries. The more I dig into this, the more I find, oh my God, Virginia Littlejohn is not your everyday name. Phenomenal lady. When you slip, are you kidding me? Yeah, we've known each other for years. Yeah, Desiree was up here painting one of her. Oh, yeah. Okay, so takeaways. Make sure you're doing an event showcasing that you understand the women's culture. We talked about immigrants. I learned a lot today. But at the same time, how do I think as a woman? And how does a man interpret how I think as a woman? Are two different things. And how Esther thinks herself as a woman and how I think as myself a woman can be two different things. She has a different culture than I have.
So make sure, when I go to Hispanic party, I have what? Typically Hispanic music, Hispanic clothes, and Hispanic food. Love it. But if I go to a women's event, can you tell me, are we going to dress like me? Are we going to dress like Matilda? Are we going to have American food or African food? What kind of music are we going to play? We have no idea unless it's written out. But if it's not, we're going to know. German one, Asian one, whatever. See my point? We have to better communicate and evolve. So when we're talking about marketing to women, I understand your needs. You are a single mother. Your kids have to be taken care of. You know what? I'll give you an email, and when you need to call me, you let me know. Text me half an hour before I can get whatever I'm doing to make sure I'm available so I can talk to you at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll be honest with you. Most of my high-level conversations I have with executives around the world, you know, 2 o'clock, 12 to 1:30 in the morning. Dead time. Kids are in bed. We're not on an airplane. Puppies are in bed. We have time to think. Seriously. Insight. Single women are fastest growing market, outpacing buying activity single men. Women buyers are busy. Some are single, some are mothers. As such, they have unique circumstances when to feel understood and supported. Women are especially perceived to the quality of service they receive. And research shows that women are twice as likely as men to recommend an agent with whom they have been enjoyed working with. So who do you want to refer your business to? So if you sell one home for one, what's out of her selling? Two more. Versus a guy, so sorry. But how do they know that you like women? In the sense that you cater to them and you understand the variability of these. So you know, you single mothers, I've got them. We talked about dealing with the next chapter, the older generation. Do you know there's $36.5 billion a year in financial fraud to elder people? A year? $36.5 billion. I said that correctly. In financial fraud to elder people a year. Why don't you market that you deal with that? Market you deal with money. When's the last time you seen a marketing campaign on your brochure? Never. Okay, so key points. We went over that. So 17.7, we heard from Esther, it's double the amount. 49.8% of single women were homeowners compared to 46.8% of single men. So the idea is that when you're buying, marketing, and working, you heard how Matilda and Esther talked about and Vanessa talked about cultures, misconceptions, thought process. Same thing happens to this. Have your office and your mental makeup. Be very open. Don't assume anything about anyone. Let them speak. Hear them. Absorb them. If you don't understand, ask a question. One, allow them to answer. And the women will love you. Be a mother to their children. Be respectful of their time. Understand that they're not on time. Oh, man, I remember those days, breastfeeding and changing diapers and trying to get in the car and running 20 minutes late. Not a problem. I have to cover. Those simple things will make a difference that you understand a mother and how to pick up a child. You want? I'll go pick up your daughter. Why don't we meet her at this house so we can pull this together? Is that okay? Offer. 99.9% they say, no, wait, you gotta get approval. But the point is you offer. Right? $39 small businesses in the United States. Driving economy, we talked about that, but I just want to make sure you know. So in the end, raising your bottom line, look at that. 18 million female homeowners are in the United States.